Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. Please do excuse the work in progress behind me. You see my wood tape figuring in what's my frame behind me there. I appreciate you guys and everything that you do in supporting me in my mission of helping veterans build wealth in real estate, especially getting started with your VA loan and moving on into being a sophisticated and legitimate real estate investor. All right, so with that being said, today's topic is going to be property management. I get it all the time. Hey, I'm done living here. I've got orders somewhere else, or I'm moving, or this house isn't suiting me anymore. Uh, let's look at what it looks like to sell it. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to say, hey, first, let's completely rule out keeping it and renting it out, because keeping it and renting it out is definitely the long-term play. It is definitely going to suit you much better. So when you consider thinking about renting this place out, you're probably right away going to be like, all the reasons why I wouldn't want to. Well, before you commit to all the reasons why you wouldn't want to, let's first explore what it would look like for you to keep the property. So, do I use a property manager or not? Let's talk about some stuff real quick. So, self-managing. In self-managing, the number one issue that you're going to run into is it's really difficult for property owner. We're going to call landlords property owners for this video. So it's really difficult for a property owner to enforce and collect late fees. But property management companies have that as part of their standard operating procedure, right? So if somebody is to constantly pay you late, then they're going to end up profiting because of the late fees. If you don't implement the late fees, then they're going to get later and later and later. A really good example that I have for that is a buddy of mine bought a 3-on-1, and when he first took over as the owner, on that first month, the person paid him on the first of the month. The second month, the second, third, fourth, fifth, and he then went into being late. The 6 month, six, the 7 month, seven. I don't know why this tenant decided that they would do one day later every single month. I don't know if that was some kind of a hack that like maybe 30 months in you get like a free month that way. However, if this person was not a property manager, then the late fee would have been instilled. So it would have gone on into the seventh, eighth, ninth month. Who knows where it would have gone from there. So he had a property manager. He hit them with a property manager with a late fee, and they went back to paying on the first. So that's a really good benefit. If the person doesn't make a payment at all, and you need to start the eviction process, you as the property owner, you have your own life, you have your own responsibilities. It's best to have a professional organization behind you saying, "Hey, we got you. If this person didn't pay by the fifth, on the sixth, we're filing eviction." And you're not evicting the person, but they're filing for it, right? And that shows that tenant that you are serious. You take owning this property very seriously, and they need to take renting it, borrowing it very seriously too, right? Because what they're paying you is to borrow your four walls and that roof and that ceiling for 1 month. 30 days is all they got, right? You own it forever. So, late fees and eviction process is definitely like the number one reason to hire your property management company. The number two reason is increasing rents. When you are the one taking the applications and you're placing the tenant, you are now forming a personal could feel or personal relationship with these tenants. So when that 1 year comes up, hearing it from you, hey, I'm going from $2,000 a month to 2,150 or 2,150, right? It feels like a personal slight, but when they hear it from the property management company, they don't have a personal relationship with them. They never have, and they don't have a personal relationship with you. They never have. It's business, right? So now you're going to collect another $100 a month or 150 a month. That could be $1,200 to $1,800 a year. And then if you mess around and don't increase that rent that 1 year, a lot of places, especially here in this California market, we have the controls in place that we can't just hike up the rent by $1,000 a month. So you can't give them $2,000 a month for 5, 6, 7 years, and then all of a sudden say, "Hey, issue 3,000 a month," and then bam, hit them with 3,000 a month. all kinds of stuff in the way of that. So do not skip a year on increasing rents. Because my advice, and having a property management company there doing that for you, you could really justify it with just the rent increase alone. Think of it like this. They placed your tenant this year. They paid you this much. At the 1 year mark, they increased the rents by 5, 6, 7%. Right? At that 2 year mark, they did it again, another 5, 6, 7%. At that point, these property management companies that are charging 8 to 12%, right? That feels like crap in the first year, the second year, by that third year and beyond, they have now justified their own paychecks. Right? So the screening of the tenants and renewing leases and increasing rents and turnover time. Turnover time, meaning you have a job, you might not even live in that town anymore, property anymore. Like when I turned my Florida house into a rental property and then bought another house in North Carolina, and then I turned that house into a rental property and went moved to Guam. I had to have professionals take care of that stuff because I have no one else to rely on to go in there, get the place clean, get the paint touched up and everything good, and get the applications processed and get the new renter in place. Right? So as much as you can shorten that time, the better off you're going to be financially. So that's where self-management versus professional management, I always lean towards professional. Okay, so now let's go back to the shopping. If you're shopping for a property, even with your VA loan or your FHA loan, right, and you think that maybe in the future I'm going to turn this into a rental property, there's a couple of things to take into consideration. There's this 1% rule, there's a 2% rule, right? At 1%, you should consider buying. At 1.5%, you should definitely buy it. At 2%, you dumb to not buy it. So how do you figure out is this a 1%, 1.5, or 2%? Where does it lie? So here's where you just get your simple calculator out and you say, okay, so these people are telling me that I can rent this out for $2,400. Okay? The property management company is going to take 10%. So I'm going to times that 2,400 by 10, by 0.9, sorry, to take that 10% away, and I have $2,160 a month. Sorry, it's backwards. So if I have this 2,160 coming in, if I divide that by the purchase price, let's say that they're selling it for $350,000, that's at 0.006. So that's less than 1%. So that right there doesn't even meet the 1% rule. So if you're going to buy property based on 1.5, 2, you're going to really tell yourself no on that particular purchase, right? The best deal that I've ever heard of is this fellow that found the property for $175,000, and he put $20,000 into it after he bought it. So he's in it for $195. So let's call that this purchase price. Let's call it $200,000 because the closing costs. So he's into it for $200,000, and he's renting these 4 units out and collecting $4,200 a month in rent. So if you take 4,200 and then times that by the 0.9, so 4,200 times 0.9, we're at 3780. And you divide that by the $200,000 that he's into this property for, he's at 1.89%. Right? Now, can you count on finding that kind of property? Absolutely not. Those are unicorns. Those are the ones that are just like absolutely, positively must consider buying. In this industry, we are not the only ones who are doing these calculations, who are figuring this stuff out. And if we're using our VA loans or our FHA loans, we're putting 0 down, 3.5% down, it's very hard to find ourselves attracted to a property when we're up against people who are putting 20, 25, 30, 35% down. Because their holding costs are going to be a lot lower than ours, so they're going to be able to rent it for less. So your competitors, when you're going out there bidding on properties, are going to have to factor in the idea, you are going to have to factor in the idea that I'm buying this thing with very little money or no money out of pocket. Am I okay with buying it, living in it for a couple of years, and then when I turn it into a rental property, I'm paying $2,800, but it's only renting for $2,400, which only renting $2,200, right? Am I okay with that being the situation? Because I'm moving away, now I have to pay 28, I think 22. That means I'm out $600 a month on this one. a lot of you right now are saying, that's dumb, that's idiotic. Well, not really, in my opinion. In my opinion, that's where they're demanding your down payment, right? So if you can afford to, and you can proceed and you can afford to, like maybe you're in the military and you're E5 when you bought it, and you're E6, E7 when you're moving out of it, lose that money, right? And it's not losing really because you're just investing now instead of investing in the beginning, right? And a lot of us, military guys, we didn't join the military because we were rich, right? We joined the military because we wanted to become rich. And the military is very much a life hack for us Americans when we were young men and women to join and all these benefits and unlock all of this life hack stuff. So my point is, and I'll make a totally separate video, like where we do the calculations with a screen share on what is the difference between having that $30,000 to put down or that $80,000 to put down, measured against what I should expect the rent to be and my mortgage to be, and losing that money along the way, and so on and so forth. Right now, here's something that not a lot of people talk about. Right, tenant quality. So the quality of tenant. Everybody says, I want a tenant that has a 700 credit score or more. I want them to have a secure job. I want them to have a steady income. I want them to have a really good rental history. And I would love for them to have no pets. Right? That is your unicorn tenant right there. Right? And here's the problem. In some markets, the unicorn tenants, they know that they're doing. So they're not going to pay you $1,200 when they should be paying $800. However, if you start getting into the things into the rental industry and you have a property manager who has some kind of a niche on, like, yeah, I know that everybody else doesn't like these types of applicants, but I love them because they will pay $1,200 because they know that they don't have the credit, that they don't have the income secured, that they don't have or that they do have these pets, right? All of those reasons are reasons to be able to monetize your property better. So even when we roll back to that first example of renting it for 2,400, collecting 2,200, but paying out 28, right? You might could consider saying, hey, look, I know you just went bankrupt, which, by the way, bankruptcy means you don't have any more bills, right? So that's cool. I'm going to be your only bill. So I'll rate this to you for 32. So now I'm collecting 29 and paying out 28. So the same property, the same situation, the same market. If you're willing to take a risk on somebody, a lot of times they're willing to pay you to take a risk on, right? And it's doing people a thing. Because I'll tell you what, right now, if I was a renter and I had a 600 credit score, I would be devastated because nobody would take my applications. Here in San Diego, the rental market is very competitive. So now I've got to go find a family member that has a 700 credit score, and they're going to take responsibility for my uh, rent. Well, in order to avoid that, would I pay another $500, $600, $700 a month? Maybe, right? Maybe. It depends on where's my ego, where's my pride. So if I've got big ego, big pride, and low credit score, I might be your guy, right? So please do consider and talk with your property manager about that approach because I have had plenty of clients that have found great success in renting to those less qualified applicants. All right, now let's talk about when you buy the property and you're turning it into a rental, whether that's day one or years down the road because you bought it as your primary and you lived in it for a few years. So now, stuff to consider. Washer and dryer. Don't include washer and dryer. You put washer and dryer hookups. The reason I say don't put the washer and dryer is because washers and dryers wear out and they break. And also, they can be misused, and the tenant themselves can be the reason that it breaks. So now you're on the hook of sending the maintenance man out. So now every once in a while, this tenant in particular just doesn't know how to do laundry in a way that takes care of the machine. Maybe they've never owned a washer and dryer before, so they never care to realize that there's a certain way that you have to do it to get the longevity of life. Put that ownership of the washer and dryer itself onto your tenant every which way that you can. Now, the next thing that they can use and break, and it happens quite often, and it was really my first headache ever as being a property owner that was renting out to other people, is that damn garbage disposal, right? for one, garbage disposals start at $150 and they go to $500, $600, $700, depending on the size of them and how much power they have behind them. Now, if you spend a couple $100 when you're turning into a rental to have a plumber come by and take the garbage disposal that's there out and replumb the underneath of it to where it can operate well with no garbage disposal, now you're in the works. Because now, if they clog the drain, then you can charge the tenant for clogging the drain. But if they burn up your motor on the garbage disposal, there's really no way of telling them that they're responsible. My first one ever was they put potato peelings. So they peel the potatoes right at the sink, they put it in the garbage disposal, and they turn it off. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, you should learn this right now yourself if you don't know. The peelings of potatoes into a garbage disposal is the number one way to break the garbage disposal. Right? So do not do it. The other thing that they do that will end up affecting the tenants down the road is whenever we're washing our dishes and making our food, if you make bacon every morning, you have a tenant that makes bacon every morning, and they rinse all that grease down in your sink, eventually it's going to go down the pipes that meets with the sewer. Well, eventually it's going to cool off and it's going to solidify, right? Because if you put bacon in a pan and then just leave that pan, go to work, come back home, that pan has like a gelatinous. It has become not solid, but it's become gelatinous, right? That same gelatinous consistency will happen in your sewer, and then add a garbage disposal to that, and have them raised by somebody who says that it's okay or it's good to put eggshells in your garbage disposal and grind them up and sharpens the blade, and sends them down the way, right? Well, what happens when those little tiny pieces, big flexible, let's call it 5,000 little tiny pieces of eggshell meets that gelatinous base, it varies with it. Now you've got yourself a beaver dam in your in your drain, right? So just a matter of safety or like protecting your income. Let's make it to where they've got less things to worry about. So you might want a dishwasher when you're the one living in there, but if you can cancel the dishwasher, then cancel the dishwasher. If you can cancel the garbage compactors, cancel the garbage compactors. The reason I would cancel the dishwasher is for two reasons. One, the dishwasher wears out, and then you got to replace it for somebody else to enjoy. And then the other one is that it's a very high risk where that's where the plumbing is in. Because that plumbing is flexible hoses and wears out over time. If you don't get it on your schedule to replace those hoses frequently, then it's going to wear out, it's going to start leaking, and then you're going to have wetted everything, and then you're going to have yourself a headache to worry about. It's going to cost you maybe thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to fix it. The garbage compactors, they wear out and they're expensive to replace, and they're expensive to repair. So let's do that. Now, here's the things that you do spend money on, no matter what. Landscaping and pool. Do not trust your tenant to take care of your pool. Do not trust your tenant to take care of your landscaping. You will regret it every single time. So when you're out there shopping for your property, you know that one day you want to at least consider holding it as a rental property. Don't buy the house that has this huge landscaping bill, right? The house that I currently live in is $180 a month to do the landscaping. The North Carolina house is $420 a month because it's a big, giant grass yard and all these hedges over it, right? So if I would have had this foresight, I wouldn't have bought that particular house, or while I was living in it for the 4.5 years that I lived in it, maybe I would have canceled out those hedges because just getting the hedges cut, if I just call and say, hey, just go cut all the hedges, $600. Right? And I won't live in North Carolina, so I can't go do it myself and save myself $600. So now the pool itself, when the pool goes bad, it's thousands of dollars to get the water pumped out and the water pumped back in. If you have a professional taking care of it, the South Florida week, then you're going to be in good shape. Now, with those two things, landscaping and pool, here's the cool part about it. Let's say that you have a place that's like $200 or I'm sorry, $2,000 a month to for the mortgage, and it rents for $2,200 a month. But the landscaping in the pool is $200 a month. Hey, how do I do this? Well, what you do is you put out the ad for the market price, which is $2,200 a month. When you take the applications, you say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Richard A, I see your application, and I want you to be my tenant. But first, we have to talk about the landscaping of the pool. Um, the house itself is $2,200 a month, but I'm going to need you to also pay the $200 a month extra for the pool and the landscape, right? And if they say no, fine. Hey, renter number B, or renter letter B, let's do this. Renter letter C, let's do this. And eventually you'll have somebody that pays for the rent and the landscape and the pool back. Do not let them talk you out of doing it. They can say that I don't pool my home, I live in the house with a pool. No, no, I don't trust you. Absolutely not. And they will pay the pool guy, they will pay the landscape. Now the last thing they will pay for also is your solar. If you have a solar lease, just go dollar for dollar. If the lease is $200 a month, and you say, hey, you're going to rent for $2,200, the landscaper's $100, the pool guy's $100, and the solar is $200. So now they showed up for $2,200, but they're actually signing on for $2,600. Right? And those things are like pass-throughs as well. And why would I do that? Because it's worth something. You paid something to get it up there, and they're going to benefit from it. You're not going to benefit from it, right? So what they're benefiting from, it needs to be paid out of it. I hope this all helps. Overall, be a good landlord and treat your tenants and your property managers with respect. The last thing you want to do is be a disrespectful homeowner and limit yourself from working with certain people. If you're disrespectful to the property manager, if you treat him like he is a below you type of patron in this society, and that you have a better status than he does, then he is going to eventually say, hey, I think you should find another property manager. Well, what does that do? That takes the best property manager in that area out of your book of business, taking care of your assets, right? So treat them with respect and have a good time out there shopping. Take all these things into consideration when you're buying property. I'm not telling you don't buy these things with these things. I'm just telling you be conscious of them when you make that purchase. Thanks for joining me today. I hope this helps.